Hello and welcome to a Disregarding Dice battle report. Today, we'll be taking a look at my Novitiates into Seth's Hand of the Archon. This will be a fast and furious report. Let's introduce the teams. First, my superior, who has a plasma pistol and power weapon. Next, two Goddess with auto chastisers to reroll ones. Then, the Condemner with an Icon of Faith for a free active faith. Next, my Pronatus to give me those extra faith points throughout the game. Then, the Penitent, equipped with a crack grenade. And her best friend, the Exactor, to whip her into battle. Next, the Dialogus as a comms. Then, the Hospitaller, acting as my team's healer. And last, a Militant, with sword and auto pistol. Next, let's take a look at the operatives from Hand of the Archon. A Sky Splinter Assassin with double shoot, a Gunner with an incredible shooting profile, an Agent, Disciple of Yolindra with a great grenade, the Crimson Duelist for incredibly scary melee, the Flayer with great reduced damage, the Heavy Gunner, an Elixicant to change poisons, and the Archsibenth as the team's leader. Alright, with operatives out of the way, let's talk about the kill zone. For map, we ended up pulling Sector and using a terrain pack from Turning Point Tactics. Thanks, guys. And our mission ended up being secure. Looking at this map, the first thing I noticed is the two heavy pieces of terrain almost in the exact center of the map. I thought this would make for some dynamic play and really almost gravitate a lot of operatives toward the center. I also noticed that the oil rig in the deployment zone of one side is really great for me in this matchup because I do not want to give up any early kills no matter what into Hand of the Archon. Well, lucky me, my opponent ended up taking Defender on the opposite side of the board, granting me the side I would like and retaining the attacker advantage. Real quick, we'll go over barricades from the perspective of my side of the map. On the far right side, my opponent sets up a barricade for some cover on this objective. On the left, I set up something to hopefully isolate the far left flank from the rest of the map. My opponent then gives themselves a little more safe deployment on that left side. And I place my last barricade in the center here to again make it so that map movement in the center is more challenging, trying to take these teams and spread them out throughout the map because I think that will give me an advantage. Last, my opponent is going to use a scouting barricade placed on top of his vantage. I think this is okay, and it gives him a really good place to put his gunner. Onto deployment. You'll notice that my opponent has set up 5 operatives in the center and 2 on each flank. Well, I think my right side of their board, their left, is relatively weak given the operatives they've selected. So I want to try to exploit that by essentially offering just a few combat pieces that way while committing most of my forces onto the left side of the board. This compounds with the fact that the oil rig is also on the left side here. So my combat operatives will primarily be on the left side, hoping to advance up that flank. To start off turn 1, I'll place Consecrate Ground and Recover Item on this far left objective, as it looks pretty protected to me. Seth will move his agent up and capture the middle left objective. My first activation is to get my Condemner out of dodge and put her behind the door for turn 2. Then the Flayer moves up and captures this far right objective. I move up the Exactor and whip the Penitent. Another Hand of the Archon moves up center. I move up the Pronatus to gain some faith points and capture objective 4. The Sky Splinter Assassin moves up behind heavy cover, and the Hospitaller moves up on the far left. Heavy Gunner moves into the center here, and my Flamer also moves up to the center as there's a lot of targets now. The Elixicant just jumps over the barricade, and I use my Dialogus to give my leader +1 APL. The leader moves and passes. I also have a very passing turn with my Militant. The Disciple of Yolindra drops a grenade onto my Flamer, and the Gunner tries to shoot at my Flamer, but I end up using Blinding Aura to stop that attack, and I'll actually use the Penitent to chuck a grenade into the Disciple of Yolindra and use my leader to remove the operative from heavy cover on the top there. We end 3-3 with 1 for Recover Item and 1 for Consecrate Ground. At the end of Turning Point 1, I like that I've been able to remove a Gunner from Vantage We are now at 8 to 10 operatives. The Disciple of Yolindra is at 2 wounds, and there's a lot of operatives near the center, right next to my flamers, so I like my choices going into turning point 2. Okay, turning point 2, and here's where things get spicy. My opponent wins initiative and uses the injured Disciple of Yolindra, shooting at the Flamer, inflicting stun on them, and that leaves me open for a counter charge with my Penitent and these 2 operatives. The Penitent is very scary in melee, and essentially chews through 2 elves in 1 activation. Next, the Sky Splinter Assassin is going to go and double shoot. One of the shoots is indirect, aimed at my Cup Lady, pinking off a few wounds, and removing the remaining wounds on my Penitent. I see that I could double charge with my Condemner and gum up these operatives on the right side of the board. Unfortunately, the Flayer is unable to remove the Condemner in 1 combat, which means these operatives are stuck there. That leaves me free to take my remaining Flamer and remove this Elixirkin on the left side of the board, essentially collapsing this left flank. Now, that said, you see my Flamer there. This Heavy Gunner is now set up for a ton of success. They're able to melee fight my Condemner, get a pain token by killing the Condemner, free dash, and then shooting into my Flamer on the piece of terrain there to the right. So that's a 2 Novitiates dead, and this Heavy Gunner is still on full wounds. It's a great outcome. Next, my Dialogus is going to shoot off the Disciple of Yolindra, who had almost no wounds remaining. The Sky Splinter Assassin is now going to take Overwatch, plinking off a few wounds from the Cup Lady. My Militant moves up. My Hospitaller is going to score Recover Item on the left side, and my Leader is going to remove the Flayer with a Move Dash Shoot from the 3rd APL. That said, looking at the end of the 2nd turn, man, I think the Hand of the Archon has lost 5 operatives at this point, and I have lost 2. Not only that, but we can see the scores are starting to break away from each other. As Recover Item has been scored twice, I'm liking my ability to score the rest of my remaining Tech Ops, and I'm able to score 4-2, bringing the score for both of us respectively 7-5 on primary. I think this is a heavy favorite position for the Novitiates, and it has a lot to do with that Penitent double charge. Alright, turning point 3, my opponent wins initiative again, and they charge up the Sky Splinter Assassin. Unfortunately, with their melee, they're unable to remove the Pronatus, and so I bring in the Militant and kill the Heavy Gunner in combat. Their leader comes through the door, shoots my Hospitaller, granting them a pain token, so they've moved and shot. They get a pain token and take a free dash behind the door again. But with this operative advantage that I have effectively built up, I really want to climb that piece of vantage, and I won't be stopped. I want my secondaries. So my Dialogus is going to move dash to where you see her now, because she wants to climb that piece of vantage to score next turn. The Exactor moves down because she wants to cap this objective turning point 4. And then my Cup Lady is going to fall back, take an Overwatch shot, blinding aura that, and then my leader will come up and remove that Sky Splinter Assassin, bringing my opponent to just 1 model. So with 11 on primary, 2 on Recover Item, 1 on Reconsecrate Ground, 1 on Secure Vantage, Seth is a trooper and still wants to play Turning Point 4, so we'll bring that to you in just a moment. That said, this kind of score, I feel very safe in where we're at in the game, and man, not a lot of elves left. Okay, winning initiative 4 times in a row, the elves are able to move dash and leader on leader, remove my leader scoring headhunter from my opponent. That said, I'm then granted run of the board and I'm able to take all my secondaries that I want. And while the moral victory goes to the hand of the Archon, the Novitiates take the game score. Big thank you to Seth for letting us film the match. And if you all liked this kind of content, you want to see more battle reports, please let me know. If you have any questions, comments, drop them down. I'd love to, a big part of the reason why I make these battle reports is hearing your all's thoughts and talking with you all. That said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you all. Have a good one.